how are you doing? Happy New Year. I hope you're all enjoying your January so far. I have had a crazy life for the last few months. I've just been running my butt off to everywhere. Honestly, hardly having time to read, so that was kind of sad, but I've been doing lots of exciting things with my life as well. However, I did get a little bit behind on my reading, which was why I've been a little bit AWOL the last few months, but I'm hoping with the start of the new year, I can become a little bit more consistent again with pumping out videos. I really miss interacting you guys, so I just really want to get back into that. And so I was really pumped because in December, I got the chance to go home to Alberta to visit family for a couple weeks, and since I was off work and off all of my other daily duties, I got the chance to just like power through reading and really focus. So I got like a significant portion done, and I read quite a few exciting books in the month of December that I'm excited to share with you guys and tell you my thoughts on them. So without further ado, let's get started on my December wrap-up. Okay, the very first book that I want to talk about that I read I think I finished at the beginning of December is called The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I read this for my book club. If you haven't heard, I started a book club on Goodreads called The Broken Book Club, and this was our very first reading for the months of November and December, and I absolutely loved it. I have to say we could not have chosen a better book to do my book club kickoff with. It was so perfect because this book is about a girl named Liesl. When we come into the novel, Liesl is on her way to be dropped off at a foster home with her brother. On the train there, her brother ends up dying. Liesl's at his funeral and she notices one of the gravediggers drops a book, and she goes to look, and it's called The Gravedigger's Handbook, I believe. Liesl then takes the book. Between these two events, the death of her brother and the finding and stealing of this book, Liesl is cast into an amazing, lovely story about the importance of love and friendship and literature and equality, and just, it is a beautiful novel. I would highly recommend it to anybody who just like sincerely has a deep love of reading as an art form. But this was definitely a tearjerker, like weeping, tear-jerking, and that's been kind of rare for me lately. I haven't had too many books that I've really had a good cry over, but this one really, really, really did it for me. I connected with the characters on a very deep level. I connected with the story on a very deep level, the themes, the content. It was all just so good. In terms of writing, Markus Zusak is a beautiful, lyrical, symbolic, and artistic writer. At least in this book he was. He went above and beyond just putting down words on the page, and he really went out of his way to display it in a way that really made you connect with the story. And so I think those are my favorite types of books that really bring art into the literature concept. So I really enjoyed Markus Zusak's writing. I give The Book Thief 5 out of 5 stars. If you guys are interested in following along with my book club for the next time, for January and February, we are doing a study of the book Wicked. Please head over to the Broken Book Club on Goodreads. I'll put the link down below for you. I would love to see you out. We had some really good opinions on The Book Thief, and I'm excited to see what you guys think of our study of Wicked. The next book that I completed was actually an audiobook for the month, and that was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And this was a really good book, and I wouldn't mind rereading it again in hard copy. Some human beings have evolved to have superpowers of sorts, and the people with powers have their blood has evolved to be silver. Half of society has this silver blood that gives them powers. The other half just still has red blood and are normal human beings as we see today. Two different class systems have formed in this dystopian society. The silver bloods being the higher class society, they control all of the power. They are the slave drivers of society. They're the rich. They're the royalty. And the powerful, and the red bloods, the normal people, are the slums. In this novel, we follow a girl named Mare. She is a red blood, born a red blood, but through a series of events, she finds out that she actually has the powers of a silver blood. So this book was actually really good. I connected well with the characters and the circumstances. My one problem with it wasn't so much in the book itself, more so just the genre in general. I think I've just read a lot of dystopian lately, and so I'm starting to get a little tired of it, and I'm starting to see certain patterns emerge in my reading of dystopian novels, and some of those patterns definitely came out in this book, but it wasn't something that ruined the novel by any stretch of the imagination for me. There were a lot of creative aspects of this. I've heard it reviewed as a mix between The Hunger Games and X-Men, and I would say that's 100% accurate. That is the best way to describe it. In the end, I think I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars because I had a few qualms with it, but not very many. Another book that I completed on my audiobook was The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, and I actually really ended up enjoying it. This novel is another dystopian novel, I guess, but this one's a sci-fi. So this one is an alien takeover novel, and I have not read a whole lot of books like this. This one was actually really, really good. It's always been on my TBR, but I was inspired to bump it up to the top because of the movie coming out. The trailer looked absolutely amazing when I saw it, and I was basically like, I need to read this book right now. I was really into following one character. I forget her name, but I really liked following the girl, but when it came to the boy, Ben Parrish, I wasn't super into his storyline, so it was sort of like a 50-50 for me. I really liked part of the novel, and the other part, for some reason, I wasn't as into, but overall, the novel as a whole, I really enjoyed. I really liked the concept of an alien invasion being just on more than one attack, and I felt like the type of attacks that these aliens launched against them and their strategy was really creative on a lot of different levels, and so I did really enjoy this book. So I would highly recommend it to anybody who's into dystopian, sci-fi, alien invasion. I gave this book, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars. The next novel that I completed in December I'm very excited about is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Me and my boyfriend have been reading this book for months now, since the summer, I think. But even through that, I did enjoy the novel. I would 100% give it a reread because sometimes the breaks I had in between readings were just so long that I wasn't really following the story as best as I could. But of course, this was just a weird story, but in a way that just like draws you in, and it's hilarious and it's good, and the characters are unique and the circumstances are creative, and the backstory is just like really, like all of these backstories are just really interesting and humorous and outrageous and totally not realistic at all, but that's the magic of this book. I think I ended up giving it about a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I'm willing to bet that if I picked up this book and read it just like cover to cover in a normal amount of time, I would end up liking it more. So I would definitely give this one a second chance. And then during my Christmas break, it was so awesome. I got to power through 3 novels. It was so good. I was just so pumped about this. The first novel that I completed was called A Man Called Ove by Frederick Backman. This novel is about an old grouchy man. He's grouchy, he's rude, he doesn't have any patience or time for people, he sticks to his routine, he's cheap and just short-tempered. The more you read the book, the more you find out about why this man is the way he is and the things he's went through, and he has a really beautiful story with his wife, and there's a lot of humorous circumstances that happen with his neighbors, and so this book was it was really good. I did really enjoy it. It's really heartwarming. It definitely brought a few tears out of me. It wasn't, however, my absolute favorite novel. I feel like maybe the writing just didn't grasp me too much. It is translated from Swedish, so it was a little jarring in parts for me. However, it was still a really good read. If you're looking for a heartwarming story and a really short read, I think this is less than 300 pages. You can power through it pretty easily. I would definitely recommend this book. So 3.5 out of 5 stars for A Man Called Ove. The next novel that I completed, I read on my Kindle this month, and I was so happy to finally get to this series because why haven't I yet? That's just unreal. I read The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I was surprised by a lot of aspects of it, by a lot of ways that the books were different than the movies. I think one of the biggest examples of things that I was shocked by was the relationship between Pippin and Merry. Completely different in the books than in the movies. In the books, they're not that like till death do us part bromance kind of relationship. When it comes to fantasy, the main thing I struggle with is world building. It's one of those things that I have to take in context. So when I get to the end of the book, I have to look back and be like, man, that was amazing. Like J.R.R. Tolkien clearly is one of the top world builders in fantasy, of course, like that's a given. But while I'm reading it, sometimes I struggle a little bit because it does start feeling a little bit dry for me personally. I don't really like reading pages upon pages of like the way the nature looked that they were walking through, or like especially in scenes where they were just like traveling for days and days and days. Sometimes it got a little rough for me and I would slow down reading, but those are more so just like preferences of mine as a reader as opposed to criticisms, because that's one of the amazing things about fantasy as a series is the world building. So I wouldn't take it away at all. I wouldn't want it any other way, but sometimes I don't enjoy it as much. So for that reason, for enjoyment purposes only, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. However, for content and story and amazingness and awesomeness and the book as a whole, definitely would give it a 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I read was actually a reread. It is one of my favorite books of all time. That is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. And I could almost cry just thinking about it. It is so good. This novel is about a man, a farmer back in the 1800s. He's walking through town and he sees this prostitute up in the window of a brothel, and he feels like God told him to marry her. But it's not as easy as that, because this lady, Angel is her name, she has never experienced the love of a man in any form in her entire life. Like her father didn't want her. Every man that's ever been in her life has ended up betraying her and using her in some way, shape, or form, and telling her or expressing to her through their actions that she is worthless. So when she gets married, this is the idea of herself that she brings into the marriage. And so this book is a beautiful story about learning to trust. It's about unconditional love. It's about a love that completely redeems and washes away all of these burdens that you carry, all of these opinions about yourself that are just awful. It's about a love that just loves you despite all that. So this book is so inspiring, and honestly, I think everybody in the world should read this book, and I'm sort of thinking that I would like to read it once a year. This is honestly how much I love this novel, and every time I read it, I learn something new. I'm inspired to just love better. So please go read this book. So good. I give it an easy 5 out of 5 stars, and I would give it more if I could. One of my favorite books of all time. So that is it for my December wrap up. I was really happy because in prior months like September, October, November, I was finding that I just wasn't emotionally connecting to the books that I was reading. And so it was really refreshing for me to actually pick up not just one, but quite a few books this month that I really felt like I emotionally connected with the characters and the stories on a deeper level. I'm looking really forward to hearing what you guys read in December. If you have a video, put it down in the comments for me. Send me the link. I would love to watch it. Tell me about the books that you read. If you've read or have any thoughts on the books that I've read, I, of course, am always open to discussion. Please, by all means, throw me a comment down below. Give me a shout out on Twitter. I'll put all of my information down below for you. I don't have anything more to say. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and a fantastic January so far. I love you all. Bye!